The unexpected encounter. The low hum of the quantum drive vibrated through the research vessel Horizon's metal corridors, a constant reminder of humanity's furthest reach into the unknown. Commander Elena Rodriguez gripped the navigation console, her dark eyes scanning the holographic star charts that flickered with an eerie blue light. Behind her, Dr. Marcus Alvarez hunched over a spectral analysis station, his fingers dancing across translucent data interfaces. Approaching uncharted Sector 7 Delta, Elena announced, her voice steady despite the tension that coiled in her muscles. The Horizon was humanity's most advanced deep space exploration vessel, equipped with cutting-edge detection systems and a crew selected for their psychological resilience and scientific expertise. Marcus looked up, his salt and pepper beard catching the ambient light. Atmospheric composition readings are unusual, he muttered, adjusting the sensor calibrations. These quantum signature disruptions shouldn't be possible. A sudden burst of static erupted from the communication array, followed by a series of complex geometric patterns that danced across the primary viewing screen. The bridge crew froze, collective breaths suspended in anticipation. "Is that communication?" whispered Arya Kim, the ship's xenolinguistics specialist. Her fingers hovered over translation algorithms, desperately trying to make sense of the rapidly shifting visual language. The patterns intensified, transforming from abstract geometric shapes into what seemed like a deliberate sequence. Complex. Rhythmic. Alive. Commander Rodriguez made a split-second decision. Maintain passive scanning. Do not initiate active communication protocols yet, she commanded, her military training overriding the scientific team's natural curiosity. But the universe had other plans. A sudden gravitational anomaly shimmered around the horizon, unlike anything in their extensive database. The ship's quantum stabilizer struggled, creating a momentary sensation of being simultaneously present and absent, here and nowhere. Quantum entanglement detected. Marcus shouted, his voice a mix of scientific excitement and primal fear. "We're being observed." "No, more than observed. We're being examined." The ship's interior lights flickered, not from mechanical failure, but from something more deliberate. A presence that wasn't technological, but sentient. Alive in a way that defied human understanding. Aria's translation algorithms suddenly sparked to life. Not with words, but with emotional impressions. Curiosity. Caution. A profound sense of difference. "They're trying to understand us," Arya whispered, her hands trembling. "Not just our technology. Us. As beings." Commander Rodriguez felt a chill run down her spine. First contact wasn't just a theoretical scenario anymore. It was happening, right here, right now, in the vast, silent darkness between stars. The geometric patterns on the screen began to resolve into something more structured. Not a language of words, but a language of concepts. Of intentions. Of potential. "Prepare defensive shields," Elena ordered, her voice calm but her heart racing. "But do not, under any circumstances, show aggression." Marcus adjusted his spectral analysis, his scientific mind racing. "These quantum signatures, they're not just communication. They're a form of existence we've never encountered. It's like they're simultaneously everywhere and nowhere." The horizon hung suspended in space, a tiny bubble of human technology confronting something utterly beyond its comprehension. First contact was never going to be what anyone expected. And this was going to be nothing like anyone had ever imagined. The cosmic dance of two species, one carbon-based and familiar, the other quantum and incomprehensible, was about to begin. Bridging the divide. 48 hours had passed since the initial quantum encounter, and the Horizon's crew existed in a state of perpetual anticipation. The ship's systems had stabilized, but something fundamental had changed. The very air seemed charged with an indescribable energy. Dr. Marcus Alvarez had barely slept, his workstation a chaotic landscape of holographic projections, quantum wave analysis, and increasingly complex translation matrices. Arya Kim stood beside him, her eyes reflecting both exhaustion and an almost childlike wonder. "It's not just a language," Arya explained to Commander Rodriguez, her voice soft with revelation. "It's a complete cognitive framework. These quantum entities, they don't communicate. They exist in communication." The holographic displays began to pulse with a rhythmic pattern, no longer random but purposeful. Geometric shapes morphed and merged, creating complex three-dimensional structures that seemed to breathe with an internal logic. "Look," Marcus pointed, his hand trembling slightly, "they're showing us something. Not telling. Showing." The display revealed what appeared to be a cosmic map. But it wasn't a traditional stellar chart. Instead, it was a living, breathing representation of spatial relationships, connections that transcended linear understanding. Quantum entanglement visualized not as a scientific concept, but as a living narrative. Commander Elena Rodriguez watched carefully. Her military training had prepared her for conflict, for strategic engagement. But this? This required something entirely different. Patience. Openness. A willingness to be fundamentally transformed. "Can you translate?" she asked Arya, knowing the question was almost absurd. Arya closed her eyes. "It's not about translation. It's about resonance. They're showing us how they perceive connection. How everything, and I mean everything, is simultaneously separate and interconnected." A sudden surge of energy swept through the horizon systems. Not destructive. Not threatening. But profoundly communicative. Like a gentle touch from an intelligence so advanced it could caress the very fabric of reality. Marcus's computer systems began to generate complex mathematical equations, not programmed, but seemingly emerging spontaneously. Quantum probabilities transformed into visual poetry, mathematical relationships becoming a kind of language. "They're teaching us," he whispered. "Or maybe, they're learning from us." The quantum entities, whatever they were, seemed to be probing, exploring, understanding. Not with instruments or technology, but with a form of perception that defied human comprehension. Arya began to sketch. Not with traditional drawing tools, but with a quantum interface that transformed her neural impulses into living, breathing geometric forms. Each line, each curve a potential conversation, a bridge between two fundamentally different modes of existence. Commander Rodriguez felt something she had never experienced before. Not fear. Not excitement. But a profound sense of humility. Humanity's most advanced technology, its most brilliant minds, were but children taking their first stumbling steps in a cosmic dialogue billions of years in the making. "We are so small," she murmured, a statement of fact rather than despair. The quantum display pulsed in response. Not a dismissal. Not a confirmation. But an acknowledgement. A recognition that smallness and vastness were merely perspectives, not limitations. As the hours passed, the horizon became less a technological vessel and more a living membrane of communication. The line between observer and observed, between human technology and quantum intelligence, began to blur. First contact was no longer about communication. It was about transformation. United against adversity. The quantum disturbance that had initially seemed like a mere communication attempt now revealed its true nature, a warning. The horizon's advanced sensor arrays began to detect a cascading stellar anomaly that defied every known astronomical model. "It's a quantum cascade," Marcus announced, his voice tight with scientific urgency. "Something is destabilizing the fabric of spacetime in this sector. If it continues, it could create a chain reaction that would obliterate everything within 100 light-year radius." Commander Elena Rodriguez felt the weight of command press down on her. This was beyond military protocol, beyond scientific exploration. This was about survival, not just of their ship, but potentially of entire star systems. The quantum entities, which the crew had begun to conceptualize as a collective intelligence rather than individual beings, responded to the threat with a series of complex geometric projections. Arya Kim, now functioning as their primary interpreter, struggled to articulate what she was perceiving. "They're showing us the problem," she explained, "but more importantly, they're showing us potential solutions. It's like watching multiple realities unfold simultaneously." The stellar cascade was unlike anything in human scientific understanding. It wasn't a natural phenomenon, nor was it entirely artificial. It existed in a liminal space between physical law and quantum probability, a tear in the very fabric of spatial reality. Marcus's hands flew across the quantum interface, translating the geometric patterns into comprehensible mathematical models. "We need to create a quantum stabilization field," he muttered, "but the energy requirements are beyond anything we've ever conceived." The ship's artificial intelligence, ARIA, Advanced Relational Intelligence Algorithm, began to integrate the quantum entity's data with human technological capabilities. It was a delicate dance of two fundamentally different intelligence systems finding common ground. Commander Rodriguez watched as her diverse crew, each with their unique skills and perspectives, began to work in a way she had never seen before. It wasn't just collaboration. It was a kind of collective consciousness emerging. Arya stood at the intersection of human language and quantum communication. Her body seemed to vibrate with an energy that was neither entirely biological nor technological. "We can't stop the cascade," she announced. "But we can redirect it. Transform it." The quantum entities responded with a surge of energy that momentarily made the horizon feel like it existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Mathematical equations became visual poetry. Probability became tangible. Marcus realized they were being offered more than just a solution. They were being invited to understand a fundamentally different way of perceiving reality. "It's about balance," he said suddenly, understanding breaking through like sunlight. Not prevention. Not destruction. Transformation. The stellar cascade began to change. What had appeared to be a catastrophic threat now started to resolve into a complex, beautiful restructuring of spacetime. The quantum entities were not fighting the phenomenon. They were dancing with it. Commander Rodriguez felt a profound sense of humility. Humanity's approach had always been to conquer, to control. But here, in the vast darkness between stars, they were learning a different approach. Adaptation. Harmony. Coexistence. As the potentially catastrophic stellar event began to transform, the horizon became a bridge between two fundamentally different ways of understanding existence. Human technology. Quantum intelligence. Two systems finding a way to work together that neither could have imagined alone. "We're not just surviving," Arya whispered, her eyes reflecting impossible geometric patterns. "We're evolving." The universe watched. And listened. Breakthrough moments. The aftermath of the stellar cascade transformation left the horizon suspended in a region of space that defied conventional understanding. What had once been a threatening cosmic anomaly now resembled a living, breathing tapestry of quantum possibilities. Dr. Marcus Alvarez sat in the ship's primary research lab, surrounded by holographic projections that seemed to breathe and pulse with an inner life of their own. The quantum entities had begun a process of technological exchange that challenged everything humanity knew about scientific discovery. "It's not knowledge transfer," Marcus explained to Commander Elena Rodriguez, his eyes wide with wonder. "It's more like cognitive resonance. They're showing us how to perceive technology as a living system." The ship's systems had begun to change. What were once rigid computer interfaces now responded with a fluidity that bordered on sentience. Circuits became more than conduits of information, they became channels of understanding. Arya Kim stood at the center of this transformation. Her role had evolved from mere translator to something far more complex. She was a bridge, a living interface between human consciousness and the quantum intelligence that now surrounded them. "Look," she said, extending her hand. A holographic projection materialized, not from any visible projector, but seemingly from the space around her. It was a three-dimensional representation of technological evolution, showing how different civilizations might develop communication and transportation technologies. The projection wasn't a static diagram. It was alive, shifting and changing based on the collective thoughts of those observing it. Potential technologies flickered in and out of existence, each possibility a vibrant thread in a cosmic tapestry of innovation. Commander Rodriguez watched in fascination. Her military background had trained her to see technology as a tool, a means to an end. But this was different. Here, technology was a living dialogue between consciousness and possibility. "We're learning to think differently," Marcus murmured. "Not just about technology, but about existence itself." A new type of energy generator began to take shape in the lab. It didn't rely on traditional fuel or even known quantum principles. Instead, it drew energy directly from the fabric of spacetime, converting potential into kinetic in a way that seemed to blur the lines between physics and consciousness. Aria's neural interface allowed her to communicate the quantum entity's insights. "They're showing us that technology isn't something we create," she explained. "It's something we participate in. A conversation between possibility and manifestation." The horizon itself was changing. Its hull now seemed to breathe with a subtle, almost imperceptible rhythm. Maintenance systems anticipated problems before they could occur. Navigation became less about plotting a course and more about understanding the living nature of space itself. "Imagine transportation," Marcus said, his voice filled with excitement. "Not as moving from point A to point B, but as a negotiation with the very fabric of reality." A demonstration began. The ship seemed to fold space around itself, not through mechanical means, but through a kind of collective intention. Distances became fluid. Boundaries dissolved. Commander Rodriguez felt a fundamental shift in her understanding of leadership. This wasn't about control anymore. It was about facilitating a deeper, more profound connection. "We're not just exploring space," she realized aloud. "We're becoming part of it." The quantum entities responded, not with words, but with a cascade of geometric patterns that spoke of infinite potential. Humanity's first steps into a larger, more interconnected understanding of the universe were taking shape. Technology, consciousness, space, these were no longer separate concepts. They were becoming a single, breathing dialogue. Breaking barriers. The neural interface chamber hummed with a soft, ethereal light. Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat motionless, her consciousness suspended between two worlds, human and alien. Months of careful communication had led to this moment, the first sustained, deep-level exchange of personal experiences. The alien intelligence, which they had come to understand as a collective consciousness called the Nexus, didn't communicate through language. Instead, it shared raw experiences, emotions, memories, entire life cycles compressed into crystalline moments of pure understanding. Elena felt herself dissolving, her individual identity merging with something vast and incomprehensible. Memories flowed like liquid light, her childhood in the bustling streets of Buenos Aires, her first telescope, the moment she decided to become a space explorer. Each memory wasn't just remembered but experienced from multiple perspectives simultaneously. In return, fragments of the Nexus's existence flooded her perception. She witnessed the birth of star systems through consciousness that existed across multiple dimensions. She felt the collective joy of a civilization that didn't know individual survival, but understood collective evolution. Commander Blake watched from the observation room, monitoring the neural link with a mix of scientific fascination and parental concern. Beside him, Kai Nakamura tracked the complex data streams, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "Her neural patterns are stable," Kai reported, "but something extraordinary is happening. It's like, she's not just communicating. She's translating entire conceptual universes." The ship's quantum computer struggled to process the incoming data. What humans had always considered impossible, true, deep interspecies communication, was happening in real time. A sudden surge of emotion broke through the clinical environment. Elena's body trembled, tears streaming down her face, though her eyes remained closed in deep connection. The Nexus was showing her something profound, a universal understanding that transcended individual existence. "She's experiencing their entire collective memory," Blake whispered, more to himself than to Kai. "Their entire history, compressed into moments." The alien intelligence wasn't just sharing information. It was offering understanding, a glimpse into a form of existence where individuality and collectivity were not opposing concepts, but part of a complex, breathing ecosystem of consciousness. Elena's hand twitched, her fingers tracing complex geometric patterns in the air, a subconscious representation of the neural communication happening beyond human comprehension. When she finally opened her eyes, the room fell silent. Something had fundamentally changed. She wasn't just a human who had communicated with an alien intelligence. She had become a bridge between two entirely different ways of experiencing reality. "We've been wrong about everything," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of multiple perspectives. "Existence isn't about survival. It's about connection. Facing a common threat." The quantum communication chamber blazed with intensity. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center, her consciousness now a conduit between human technology and the Nexus, the collective alien intelligence that had transformed their understanding of existence. Alarms blared across the horizon. Long-range sensors had detected an approaching threat, a massive gravitational anomaly that threatened to consume entire star systems. It was a cosmic predator unlike anything humanity or the Nexus had encountered before. "The Void Eater," Elena translated, her voice carrying the collective knowledge of two civilizations. "It consumes entire ecosystems, not just planets, entire networks of consciousness." Commander Blake studied the holographic projections. The threat was immense, a dark, consuming force that devoured not just matter, but the very fabric of existence itself. No single civilization could stand against it. Kai Nakamura worked frantically, integrating human quantum computing with the Nexus's multidimensional communication networks. "We're creating a unified defensive matrix," he announced, his fingers dancing across interfaces that merged biological and technological systems. The ship transformed. Human technology intertwined with the Nexus's living consciousness, circuits became neural pathways, computer systems evolved into thinking, adaptive organisms. They were no longer separate entities, but a single, unified intelligence focused on survival. Elena felt everything. The terror of potential extinction. The hope of collective resistance. The beauty of different species finding common ground in the face of ultimate destruction. "We are more than our individual parts," she said, her voice resonating with multiple consciousnesses. "Survival is not about individual preservation, but collective adaptation." The Void Eater approached, a massive, reality-warping phenomenon that consumed everything in its path. But now, humanity and the Nexus stood together. Not as two separate species, but as a single, interconnected network of intelligence. As the final confrontation began, Elena understood the true meaning of their encounter. It was never about first contact. It was about ultimate connection. "We are ready," she whispered, as the horizon became a beacon of unified resistance against the cosmic threat. The universe held its breath.